Fortnite's upcoming season might be the weirdest one we've ever had, but why is that? And what will the future of Fortnite look like moving forward? To answer those questions, we need to take a look at the bucket load of information that we've received on Twitter. First, there's the news that Season 5 will be 30 days long and that it will also feature a separate LEGO collab that isn't tied into the main game. Now, the reason that this is very confusing to people is because a season just can't be that short. Even Season 1 Chapter 1 was 50 days long, but it still wasn't 30. Like, how are we meant to complete a battle pass in that time? Well, what if I told you that we're not? I said that Season 5 is probably going to be really weird, and I mean, it may not have a battle pass, it's not just some short event, but it will most likely be a transition to the end of Chapter 4 finale event. The end of Chapter 4 is happening in December, so this 1 month season will run up until then. My guess is that it might even feature a sort of mini battle pass like the Most Wanted, the Star Wars, and the Jujutsu Kaisen events. I mean, for all we know, they could have all been a massive test for what's to come next season, just like the Most Wanted event was really building up to Season 4. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when I say the Most Wanted event was building up to Season 4, I literally mean that straight after that event, Season 4 was meant to happen. From Egyptian Fortnite leaker on Twitter, we know that the current season, Last Resort, was supposed to happen in Chapter 4 Season 2, but it got delayed. The Most Wanted event from Season 1 was also planned to take place around that time, which makes a lot of sense. Now, there's two main things that everyone's bringing up in response to this new information. The first thing being that the story of Chapter 4 could have actually been much better with this initial plan. And that really got me thinking, how would things have gone? And now I'm gonna tell you. I believe that the chapter would have started the same with Zero Fusion and Paradigm, but the story and the outcome of the Oathbound Kingdom would have been pretty different. I also think that for this story to work, the Shapeless Man would sort of have to be Kato Thorn, seeing that he was planned to be the main enemy coming to the island in the following season to Season 1. That is also backed up by a line where Stellan says,
"Each night I dream of stars swallowed in darkness and the shapeless man waiting."
So that part of the story would have clicked a lot better, and then I assume the Riftgate would have brought in Kato Thorn and Eclipse Estates and Sanguine Suites and whatever the other POI is. The other thing I've seen a lot of people pointing out is that Eclipse Estate totally replaced the Citadel, so it coming through the Riftgate would have made so much sense. It also would have explained why Stellan was so rushed to get the Riftgate done, because he needed to have it done in time for the Eclipse, but the story didn't go that way, and rumor has it gets even weirder. And if you want to know how, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this video so far. A post from Andre on Twitter tells us that according to some files, Wilds and Mega were both supposed to take place in Chapter 3. Theoretically, that would mean that Chapter 3 would have then had 6 seasons, or maybe even more, depending on whether or not what I've found really means anything. When looking into the cosmetic leaks on the night of Season 4 Chapter 4's release, I noticed that several of the items were labeled Chapter 3 Season 6. Now, maybe this is because it was meant to initially be Chapter 4 Season 2, so it's just carrying over with the Chapter 3 codenames, but what it most seems like is that Chapter 4 and Chapter 3 were never really meant to be separate. After the Chrome season, we would have had the Oathbound, then Kato Thorn, then the Jungle, and then Mega, but hold on. We're still supposed to be getting a Season 5, which would make Chapter 3's total seasons 9? I mean, I gotta be honest, at this point, I'm pretty confused. Now, before we bring up too many different points in this video, I would just like to address the big question in the room. What the actual fuck had to go so wrong at Epic Games for all of these seasons to be so out of place and not really make any sense at all? Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe their chief creative officer, like, retired or something? If you weren't already aware, Donald Mustard, who was a huge part of Epic Games, has recently announced his retirement. This means he's no longer part of the company, the game, and most importantly for us, the storyline. Now, in terms of where the game could go from here, it will either be awesome and we'll get a great replacement who has a great grasp on Fortnite, or it could change everything for the worse, but I really don't think that's gonna happen. I have enough belief in the fact that Fortnite has built up enough of a culture around characters, key moments, and live events, so whoever takes over is likely to respect that and utilize what they know we love to create some great memories in the future of the game. The movements of the company right now may seem very questionable, like why we're getting a 1-month season, I don't know. Maybe it's to build up to a massive end of chapter event with the Cube Cradle, the Last Reality, the Nothing, the Triarchs, or just maybe instead Instead of that, it's something we've seen before. And you know, maybe this one's a little bit too hopeful, but I still think it's worth saying. With the story right now being set on the time machine and us finding true home away from the island, there is so much hope that it will send us back to the OG map like everyone's been wanting for ages. Remember when the Travis Scott event finished and everyone was super hyped that we were getting the old map back? They did the same thing with the Rift Tour and Ariana Grande, but I'm really hopeful this time. Like, I can genuinely see this happening considering that Season 5 is 1 month long, because I know Epic don't want to make the whole map OG for a whole chapter, but this is actually a great way to do it. In a sense, it also reflects on Donald's impact on Fortnite as a whole. He built this game from the ground up. What was once an unknown zombie fighting PvE is now one of the most expansive, creative, and well-developed battle royale games of all time. Us going back to where it all began would be awesome for us, and even more awesome for Donald. As I said earlier with his Twitter, there's still hints that he has some sort of involvement in some way. Some people are saying he's going to be the voice actor for the Visitor, and that's why the Visitor talked about retiring. But I really don't know that Donald would foreshadow possibly the biggest decision in his life through some NPC dialogue. Like, that just doesn't really work, but I could be totally blown away. Maybe in the end this will all connect, and instead of being confusing, Season 5 could be one of the most iconic times in the entirety of Fortnite history. No matter what happens, I'm looking forward to it, and there's only one right thing to say to end off this video. Thank you, Donald. Really, you've done an amazing job.